going to do a little bit of work with you this afternoon or this evening on phonics. I know we had some conversation about benchmark phonics last board meeting, so we thought it might just be a nice flow into this board meeting to do some work on phonics for you. So I'm ready to our third grade term.
Okay, as Mr. Hanlon said, we are here to talk about phonics. Hi again from last month. Yeah, we introduced my wonderful team. And we each have a student from our classes who are going to teach you. So last month, the teachers talked about it, so we thought it would be good for now the students to really show you what they do. So they're gonna each introduce themselves and then go from there.
Hello. From Mrs. Schmidt's class.
I'm Lisa from Mr. Frank's class.
I'm Rylan from Miss Yeoman's class.
I'm Alexa from Mr. Lenning's class.
We start our lesson by learning or reviewing new phonics pattern. Last week, we learned about the vowel teams. Words are written on the board. Using the words, we learned that a vowel team syllable has two or more vowels that work together as a team to make one vowel sound, which is the long vowel sound. Let's practice one together. This word raisin. The vowel team AI in the first syllable of raisin stands for the long A sound. The vowel team must stay together in the same syllable. Now you try on your own.
This is where we need audience participation.
Oh.
I forgot to tell you that. Here we go.
Okay.
Now you try on your own. What is the vowel team in this word?
I think it's EA.
What sound does that vowel team make?
E.
What is the word?
Repeat.
We will continue to work with vowel teams throughout the week. This pattern will also be reviewed in weeks to come.
Another skill we practice is called the reading book words strategy. Let's try together on this word. Start by looking for any prefixes. Do you see them? Next, look for any suffixes. Do you see them?
Any suffixes? Now I gotta go back to English. No, I'm like, wait, what? Is it Ethel?
It's at the end.
It is. Thank you. The L-E, Abel? Abel or Abel? Okay.
Then look at the base word to see if you can find any familiar patterns we learned about vowel teams last week. This word has the vowel team EA in the base word. Beat. EA, it says E. Next, sound out and blend the words together. Unbeatable. Finally, say the word parts as best and adjust your pronunciation. Unbeatable. Unbeatable. We practice on a few words together each week. Apply this skill when we read on them.
Accountable, decodable text. Another skill we practice is called read, accountable, or decodable text. We start by whisper reading the text to ourselves. When completed, we read together as a class. Then Ms. Yeomans asks us a few questions. We have to find the answers using evidence from the text. We either highlight the answer or underline it. Afterwards, we circle words that follow the pattern of the week, such as vowel teams.
Another skill we work on each week is called a closed sort. We sort the words based on their spelling patterns. We discussed the pattern, cut out the words, and glue them in the correct category in our reading journals. Here's an example of how we sorted words based on their vowel teams. A vowel team syllable has 2 or more letters that stand for one long vowel sound. Once we finish sorting the words, we highlight the pattern. We will practice reading the words and writing them in a sentence. Using these strategies will help us be better readers and writers. Thank you.
I didn't know we were getting quizzed today, you guys. I got all nervous. I wasn't ready.
Yeah, come up and see us.
Say good job. Come on, you search the line, buddy. Good job. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Good job, Reed. Excellent.
So great.
Thanks for being
Great.
good job.
You guys are
Very good.
here. Thank you so much.
Yes. Good job.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I have to make an appointment.
I'll see if you forget.
Hey, I want to thank all the parents and the kids for being here tonight. Being close to the Christmas, take the time out of your night to be here. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it.
Oh, you want to do a handshake? Yeah. Oh, shake your hand. Look, I want to.
Do some handshakes too. No problem.
Great job.
Something. Definitely a weapon.
Thank you, guys.
It's really cool.
Thank you, guys. Okay, moving on, to number 5, I don't think we have any citizen delegation to be heard, so moving on to number 6, the district administrators report. Adam, would you?
Sure. In your packet, the first item is transportation cost report. So annually, one thing I do for you guys is to just present what the year's costs were that we just finished up and compare them to the year prior, just so we can point out certain things to you. As you saw in your packet, our total costs went up. Again, we do have escalator clauses in our contract, so it's not unexpected necessarily to see a cost increase between the 2 years. What I can tell you is looking at between regular ed, special ed, and private school transportation, the group that increased the most was special ed transportation. Again, that special ed transportation is driven by IEPs, and so if the needs of the student are such that it requires transportation, we're required to transfer them, and we transport them in smaller buses or vans to help accommodate those needs. What we found is there's more students that are qualifying for special ed transportation, and it requires more vans to be on the road. So, you know, while we see increased costs, it's not unexpected necessarily. We know that, again, based on the needs of the students, that's driving those costs. So it's just something to note out there. Again, another piece that we see is private school transportation. So again, we are responsible as the public school entity to arrange and pay for the private school transportation. So, you know, we point that out to you so that you realize that, again, some of the costs in our budget don't have anything necessarily to do with us, has to do with supporting private schools. So wanted to point that number out to you. And then lastly, we pointed out what the gas escalator clause is. That just kind of gives you directionality as to whether fuel costs are above or below expectations. And for most of the 22-23 year, they were a little bit higher than they were in the previous year. Again, not completely unexpected. The good thing is that with Brightway's takeover of our program from the previous provider, they've put new buses on the road, and a lot of those buses are actually fueled by propane, and those are cheaper to run. So, it is a good thing that, from that standpoint, that we have a new operator, because they're probably more willing to invest in newer technology, which again is good for the students. Not only do they run more efficiently and use different fuel source, but as we've talked about before, we have cameras and the ability to monitor conditions a lot better in these new vehicles.
Question,
Yes, sir.
do these figures still include the people who move their kids to school and we reimburse them for that, so we don't have to provide transportation?
Yeah, so in the private school transportation line item, that does include the private transport contracts that we have with just individuals. Again, we do that on a sporadic basis when we feel like the conditions are such either to that if they're riding our vehicles to their school, that the distance is either too far or unmanageable, or it's gonna throw a wrench into the route. Or if it's a school like St. Augustine where it's not really close to where the rest of our students are going, so it's more economical to just do a transportation contract with them so they can get their students where they need to go.
You know how many we have at this point?
Actually, we're down to only a handful. There were a couple large families that were sending students to St. Augustine. A bunch of them are going to a different school that we don't have any further responsibility to provide contracts to. So that number is down to only a handful, and you guys did approve those
Yeah.
contracts in September.
Yeah.
The next item on the agenda, district donation. We get small donations from time to time. There are certain thresholds that we're required to either report them to you and or for you to provide written acknowledgement for certain donations. The one that was in your packet this time, we've gotten, there's a workplace kind of philanthropic organization that kind of runs workplace giving programs for different companies. John Deere uses this company, and we've gotten donations from them before. They've been in the couple $100 range. This year, whether they either had larger matching or more people participating, the dollar amount was a little bit larger. It's $529, which is over the $500 threshold that we're required to report to you. Sending thank yous, of course, are what we want to do. In this instance, we don't know exactly. We don't get the contact information for the company. We're not even completely sure, although we make assumptions that it's coming from the Horicon location, but we don't have employee names or anything like that. So it's a little bit harder for us to follow up in terms of a thank you, but we'll figure out a way to communicate with somebody over at Horicon and say, thanks for donating to the school district. Then lastly, in the board update section, the board development tool follow-up, you guys should have access to that board development tool and have completed the self-assessment portion of that. If you haven't, Tara just wanted to remind you to hop out there and get that completed. And then in terms of district administrator evaluation assessment, that was sent to you via your email. And again, a friendly reminder, if you haven't completed that, if you could jump in there and complete that for us, that'd be great.
Is that it? Okay. Going on to the action item stuff, financial statement audit report for 2023 fiscal year. Huberty and Associate, now Vesta, a CPA firm, was contracted to perform an audit on the financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. The firm provided an unqualified option that the financial statement present fairly respective financial position of the governmental activities such as major funds and the aggregate remaining fund informed information of SD HDT1 as 6/30/2023. That statement is the exact result of administration the board strives for with this audit. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the June 30th, 2023 financial statement audit report from Vesta, formerly Huberty and Associates.
Second,
I'll second.
any comments?
Yeah, I mean, the team has been relatively the same team that's been coming. They did a nice job and were pretty efficient in terms of getting everything completed. They filed the financial statements through the DPI in accordance with their deadlines and things. So again, it turned out very well. And as you had the opportunity to see in the letters or the statements, they made no major audit findings in terms of internal controls or financial misstatements or errors or anything like that. So again, unqualified, clean opinion is exactly what we're trying to do.
There was, my question does not affect my ability to vote on this, because I think it does clearly state that the district's in good shape. There was one comment about a significant deficiency in the internal control, and I went to that report and read it, and I just might want to set up a meeting with you later to talk through
Sure.
those things,
If
to
it's-
understand it better.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the item regarding segregation of duties, that was a question brought up by another board member that was asked prior to the meeting. What I
Mhm.
can tell you is that, first of all, ever since we've had Huberty and Associates, they've made that recommendation to strengthen segregation of duties. And that's a regular note that they make for all school districts. Unfortunately, because of resources and other things, the way they would suggest to segregate duties so that there's no overlap at all
I got
by staff members
You'd
would
have to
be
pay it.
relatively impossible. Again, we just don't have the resources for it.
Got
They're
it.
required to put it in. And again, as I told the other board member, they issue that in 95% of the cases. It's just, that's a standard comment that they make. They like to see more strengthening in that area. Again, we feel with between the way the duties are currently laid out, the supervision checks, the reporting that comes to the board monthly in terms of financials, your ability to check on different checks and disbursements and things like that. Again, they're comfortable. It's just something they feel they have to, a comment they have to provide.
Okay,
See why, I had the same concern too.
That's
we go.
exactly what it is.
Been asked before. So. Do we have a
motion in a second?
Yeah, do we have a motion?
We do already.
Oh, yeah,
We need
you
a
got
roll
a
call.
roll call, I'm sorry.
Ed
Abs-
is not here. Sorry, Don. Yeah, I'm not even looking at people. It's fine. Don,
Aye.
I say aye. Greg
Aye.
and Aaron. Aye.
All right, moving on to number 2, professional learning with Dr. Ross Green. There are 2 opportunities for Dr. Ross Green to work with staff in supporting students' behaviors. The first date is during the February 19th in service for teachers and an interesting supports and any interested support staff. And the second date during back to school in service on August 29th. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve contracts for professional learning with Dr. Ross Green at a cost not to exceed $27,000.
We have a second
I'll second.
comment?
I know the administrative team, Dr. Villalobos and Mrs. Keneally and Ms. Malter and Dr. Gaska have been working hard on this item. He's been in other districts as well, and it's gonna be very positive with what we're trying to do in terms of managing and supporting our staff in terms of managing behaviors and expectations. So yeah, we're pretty excited to be working on this.
Has he been here before?
No, he was
Other districts, so he was at
Dr.
Singer recently,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Dr. Gaska.
He's been, he was recently at Hill, and we sent some staff over there. And they were really excited about it, and we're excited to be bringing them in and all of them in book study this winter, so.
Are we looking for any expectation after the blesses us with his knowledge and recommendations.
Yeah, I think between the book study and him being here the first time and then coming back to do some follow-up, we have some plans with Mrs. Keneally around doing some of the behavior handbook and some of the forms around CSTs and supporting students. So I think there's a lot of exciting things.
Very good.
And I made a comment to the ladies at the concert, so I'll just let all the board members know. I don't like that it is optional for support staff, but in talking to them, I understand that it's going to be highly encouraged and maybe they'll want to come, but if not, we'll have the presentation and there'll be skills available for them to adapt to, depending on what their support role is, that they'll also have that opportunity. So I appreciated that information from them.
Can I ask you a question? What was it that, when you said that they thought that changed their mind, that maybe why maybe they want to attend? When you talked, you know? Over at Lincoln.
No, I just said like, I wish it was mandatory.
Yeah,
That's what I said to the ladies, and they
Okay.
said it's optional. But hopefully in the book review and talking to other people and hyping it up, because they're coming in February.
Yep.
And then, so over the summer, because it's an August date, so that's the challenge is support staff doesn't have to be there during that time. So that's where it's optional, but hopefully with the information they're getting in February.
Right.
And to continued conversation that the teachers will have, that maybe the support staff will also want to participate.
There's a lot of interested staff, support staff right now, so I anticipate that they'll be talking it up and getting more people on board. So.
yeah, because I do agree with Louise on that, that
Mhm.
I think it should be mandatory because they have to deal with the kids just as much as the teachers do. And they're also employees of this district. And I just feel that if they want to be a support staff and that stuff, that they should know what's gotta be done too, so. Instead of looking at the teacher and say, hey, what do I do here? They should know how to handle it too, so. I agree with that, and it might be something to look at later, but anyways, any other discussion?
Thought you were gonna offer an amendment perhaps.
No,
Okay,
Just comment.
yeah. Can we have a roll call, please?
Aaron,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Don,
aye.
and I say aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to number 3. Technology Services Director hired. The recommendation is to hire the Technology Service Director is Ryan Roschlag. Do we have a motion?
Make a
Motion to approve the hire of Ryan Roschlag for the Technology Services Director position.
Do we have a second?
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, any discussion?
Yeah, I have one question. His salary, in reading his contract would indicate that, it's for a year and a half. And not just 1 year, so like some clarification on that if possible.
Yeah, so is the salary amount's obviously prorated. Considering that he's gonna be under contract for this remainder of the year, and then he'd be a regular 1.0, 260-day contract for the rest of the period. So yes, it's not the number that you're seeing in your pack. It's not gonna be paid to him for a half a year. It's been paid, he's getting prorated for the amount of the term that's left for this year. But yes, he is under contract only for a year and a half, the remainder of this year and then the next year.
And he's got big shoes to fill. He needs that extra 6 months to fill them shoes up before we
The salary
evaluate.
is still though for the year, so he'll get
Yeah.
a year and a half times the
What
salary,
size is his shoes?
right? I think he thought that the amount was for a year and a half maybe, but that's for a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the annual salary is presented and the first year is prorated, and the second year is a full year. So I don't want to say too much about his contract in terms of details in
Yeah.
the session, so.
I don't want to hear it anyways. We have a roll call, please.
Sure. Don,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I say aye.
All right. Motion is passed. Congratulations. Welcome aboard there, sir, with your promotion. Moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of minutes, bills, treasurer's report, and personal recommendation. Is there a request to pull an item from the consent agenda? Okay. So we got the approval of the minutes for the November 28th, 2023 meeting. And the vouchers and registers, and we now hand it over to the.
Treasurer's report?
Yes.
For month ending November 30th, 2023, total district's assets for funds 10, 21, 27, 50, and 85,031,283. Liabilities for those funds, $757,215. For a total district net assets of funds 10, 21, 27, 50, and 80, $4,274,068. Please keep in mind, this is probably one of the lower cash flow times of the year. Historically, we've had to even short-term borrow during this period until the first aid payment comes in December. But with the district's current financial health, we don't have to short-term borrow, and we have received our December aid payment, so we start to go from here.
All right. And that being said. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Greg,
Aye,
Don,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
and I say aye.
motion passed. Want to wish everybody a happy new year and or a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe new year. I think I can say that to you guys from the board, and I would like to, my fellow colleagues, I'd like to wish you guys all the same. So with that being said, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're done.
That was